Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Burggraaf. I'm the Executive Director at the Greater Ottawa Home Builders Association. Recently, we had our Hello Goodbye event, which features a significant discussion on new home sales statistics, both for 2024 and kind of what to look forward to in 2025. That great info is presented by Cheryl Rice, president at PMA Brethour Ottawa. And after that event wrapped, we said, you know what, we need to put this on a video so that more people could kind of see it. So very happy to have Cheryl join me this morning so we can kind of get into that. Good morning, Cheryl.
Yeah, good morning, and I'm really happy to be here. Thank you very much. I'm Cheryl Rice, president of PMA Brethour here in Ottawa. So PMA is a brokerage, and we specialize in new home sales and market research. And we have been a long-standing partner of GOHBA, and Jason and I have worked side by side for several years now. Yeah, so we're doing a recap today and talking a little bit about the future as well.
Thanks, Cheryl. So yeah, let's get right into it and kind of talk about last year's numbers for a little bit. So in the year that just passed, the number was 3,700 new home sales in 2024, which is about 18% below the 10-year average, but it is an increase of 44% over the sales of 2023. So we seem to kind of be crawling out of that low point in the market. What's your take on what we saw last year?
So I like the word crawl. We are recovering gradually. So we had 2 years of below average sales. So last year was a year of recovery, but it also aligned with our expectations. So we knew we had buyers on the sideline for a few years previous, and they were starting to come back last year. So the fact that we did see such strong sales is a very good sign after what we had been through. So performance-wise, the market consistently performed above 2023 on a monthly basis by an average of 54%, actually. And in some months, it surged to as high as 134%. And that's a lot. So that gap that was created from lack of sales before is now beginning to close. So another very good sign. The key drivers that fueled 2024 sales, obviously the interest rate cuts. That was the big one. It was a positive signal for buyers. That's what they were waiting for. Mortgage rates, even though they were still comparably high to previous years, buyers had adjusted to the elevated rates, so that was not a deterrent. We had only moderate price increases last year, nothing drastic as we had in previous years. We had easing inflation, but I think what was really important was the new significant demand for entry-level product under the $500,000 price range, as well as the $400,000 price range. And that price point was not available in the market from 2020 to 2022. So this was new product that was coming to the market, and buyers loved it. Builders also played a significant role in restoring affordability. They implemented price adjustments coupled with special incentives, rate buy-downs, point-of-sale negotiations, and innovative designs like multi-generational homes, as well as income-generating properties. So 2024 offered a glimmer of hope. Essentially, and the market, although the market hasn't fully recovered, it has been on its way. Now, the tariffs, which I'm sure will come up at some point during this discussion, will have an impact. But I'm not saying it's not going to have an impact. Yeah. Obviously, it will, but I'm sure we'll be talking about that.
Yeah, and we'll get into kind of product type and area and kind of future gazing in just a little bit. But one of the things I wanted to touch on that jumped out immediately to me when you were presenting this info for kind of the first time around was the increase in inventory.
Right.
The inventory jumped from 2022 to 2023 and then jumped again from 23 to 24 because people are kind of sitting on the sidelines.
Right.
But it also tells me that it's kind of a bit of a counter argument to the theme we hear out there that builders aren't building.
Right.
They are building, but a lot of people just aren't coming up to the plate to actually purchase.
Right.
So that also, once builders have to start managing that inventory that's sitting there, like some of the new starts have to kind of slow down as well. But what's your kind of impression of the buildup in inventory, and kind of what are you hearing from builders over the past year?
Yeah, so there's kind of the question of sales, high low sales, inventory high low, and when you talk about high high inventory, it's a question of when. Like, what are you comparing it to, right? So just a short history lesson for those who this may not be crystal clear in their minds or in their memories, but back in 2020 and 2021, when we had the pandemic, we had enormous demand. We had new home inventory that just wouldn't keep up. Product was being absorbed just as quickly as it was released. We also had low resale inventory that put a lot of pressure on new homes. So there was a big demand there. What this meant to the consumer was less choice and higher prices. So guess what happens after that? Boom, you have a correction. That was 2022. Demand and sales plunged. We had low sales, new product wasn't being absorbed, inventory was left sitting, and it only grew as more inventory was added. But growing inventory wasn't a bad thing. By 2023, inventory had increased by 69%, I think. And that included the West End, which had been really quiet for a while. But we had a big bump in inventory in new projects in Canada North. And I think those were from Mattamy, Minto, Uniform, and Claridge. So that was a very positive thing for an area that had been really quiet. So then 2024, demand returned. We had the rate cuts. We had an abundance of affordable product. What a beautiful cocktail that makes, right, for success. So inventory continued a healthy rebound of 38% to 2,800 homes that was fueled primarily by low-rise product. So we had more releases, new phases, new openings, and general product releases. And I heard that what's on the roster so far for 2025, we already have several new openings scheduled. So, I mean, this is great news. But still, compared to pre-pandemic levels, we are behind. We are still behind. So for a reference point, a normal market for Ottawa, barring condo apartments, so let's remove them, is about 3,000. So I said 2,800 for the market. So PMA doesn't think that our market could ever reach more than that without the mid and high-rise apartments, and that has to do with population absorption, and all of those factors that affect the fundamentals of our market. But overall, for 2025, we expect that inventory will continue to improve. As new communities are launched at slower absorption rates. And as I said, we've got a few in the pipeline right now.
So over the past year, then we've got sales that are increasing, although still kind of at much lower rates and lower than the 5-10-year average.
That's right.
Overall, and you've got kind of increasing inventory.
That's right.
In stock that's kind of waiting to be bought.
Exactly.
So how did that kind of come together on new home prices over the past year?
So we've got some fundamentals, supply and demand happening here. So when home sales are slow and inventory is running high, prices tend to decline or at least stagnate. So remember earlier we had the really high prices, and then things plummeted, and then they started to go up, but then there was another adjustment. So this is how it works, and that's good. And it's a buyer's market, when you have that kind of situation. But again, then we had our hard market correction, followed by the heated pandemic market. It had to happen. And that was the result of the high prices, the high interest rates, high inflation, and all of those factors. And that year, I think it was September or during the summer, singles actually hit over $1 million in price point. And that proved to be quite a shock. And it was actually the first time ever in our market. So builders had to implement some price adjustments right away of up to about $100,000 in order to correct that. And the elevated home prices, they were just unsustainable, so something had to break. So by the end of 2022, of course, demand plunged and inventory was left sitting. Now, towns took the hardest hit, with the average price adjusting from their peak at $750K to 650K. And that was from 2022 to 2024. And the fall in price was due to the price reductions. I mentioned more towns in the 500,000K price range and three-story towns in the 400K price range. So bringing the overall average down with all of that affordable product. So for 2025, we expect that the market will maintain current pricing, certainly in the first half of the year. Some builders have even told us that they want to avoid putting a lot of pressure on buyers.
Interesting. So to kind of wrap up, I think our look at the past year, I'd like to dig into kind of market type and the area across Ottawa, which have different dynamics as well. So sort of what was kind of your observations of of different housing types and how that has changed or not really changed over the past number of years?
Right. So we saw some minor differences in terms of product and what was sold and what wasn't sold last year. As expected, townhomes, they captured the bulk of share with 53% of sales last year, and they'll continue to be a mainstay for the foreseeable future. Now, the thing about towns, and they're now priced in the mid-600s, as I said, first-time buyers, have always been attracted, that product appealed to them. But given the choice, now they can buy new instead of resale, like either or, because the prices are around the same. Right? So what was transitional is now a product that families buy and they stay. Downsizers in their 50s and 60s are attracted to the townhome product, and later as they age, they can move to a bungalow or an apartment, as an example. Now, singles are interesting. Now, they remain steady at a 29% share. And that's not what we're accustomed to seeing. That's relatively low. Now, usually singles capture about a 43% share, with towns capturing about a 40% share. And that's only been since the 90s, right? It's been a long time we've seen that traditional split. So to see 29%, well, that's an historically low level. And we've only seen it 3 times in our market ever, in 2024, 2023, and 2011. Now, lower single sales was not due to lack of inventory. We were talking about inventory earlier. It had more because it actually represented 44% of available product, which is significant. It was attributed to affordability. The reduced affordability that was coming to the market. So we saw shifted consumer preference towards smaller homes and affordable alternatives, like towns, that diverted buyers away from the single product category. Now, singles priced at $800K to $1.5 million. What's interesting is, the sales will be slower because move-up buyers, a lot of them just aren't moving. Right? They have their cozy mortgage. They've got good fixed interest rates. There's a lot of uncertainty in the air right now. So the question for them is, why should I move? I can wait. I can do it later. And they could also look at resale and probably get a larger home, right? So condo, moving on to I've got 2 other product categories we can talk about quickly. Condo towns, commonly stacked product, held steady with 17% last year in share. Now, that product sells quickly with more units entering the market and, of course, at very attractive price points, some below $400K. And this is now the new transitional product. And it appeals really strongly to first-time home buyers as well as investors who see it as a great ROI investment for them. The last category, sadly, is condo apartments. Inventory was very low in 2024. Many developers have opted to enter the rental market rather than the for sale units, condo units. And that shift in strategy, coupled with the increase in resale condominiums, has slowed down new condo apartment sales quite significantly. So we expect that to continue for the into the foreseeable future. So that kind of wraps up the product types.
Yeah. So just before we move on to area, actually, maybe I'll kind of poke your foresight on the condo towns, because it seemed to kind of come on a little strong more towards the end of the year. And all of a sudden, it seemed like there was a couple of launches. Do you see that possibly gaining in the market share over 2025, presuming all the other things stay normal?
I think the growth of product that falls into the affordable category is going to continue to grow, especially depending, what happens as we get through 2025. Should there be any significant changes? So, there's still a lot of demand for the product. And if there is some backlash, from the tariffs, in terms of inflation and costs and mortgages and interest, so on and so forth, I think that will continue. But it is a beautiful product for first-time home buyers, and I think that trend of it becoming transitional. People will go from rent, living at home, into the that transitional product.
Sure.
I think that's going to continue to be really strong.
Interesting. So as we kind of wrap up the convo on area, like Ottawa's South End has been kind of dominating activity for a number of years now. What's kind of the insight that you have on where sales have been in various areas of Ottawa and kind of where they might be going?
Well, you're absolutely right. South is strong.
South has always
it always
been.
has been. It continues to capture the highest share, although last year it did take a little bit of a hit, -5%. But the West End experienced a notable resurgence of supply, even going back to 2023. And at that time, they had the second highest inventory in the market back then, and Ottawa South obviously had the highest. But there was significant pent-up demand growing in the West, so the releases, when they were released, they were absorbed quite quickly. And then by December 2024, Ottawa West had over 1,000 homes available, which is significant. And then growth included Carleton Place and Elmont, which are two areas that have been added to PMA's kind of market coverage. So we're monitoring those areas more, and builders are building out there. So that's a growth area that we're reporting on. Now, despite the increase in supply, Ottawa West market share did remain steady, though, at 29% because of the activity that was happening in other areas of the city. For example, the East, they had a 6% growth, which was the largest of all the areas. And no surprise, maybe just throw a few numbers out. The previous year, they had 432 sales. In 2024, they doubled. Almost doubled to 828 homes sold, and most notably the addition of 242 stacked products. So that boost in entry-level product boosted not only the area but also 2024 sales. So it was a really great helped to achieve great performance, so that we saw that recovery last year. Central that I mentioned earlier, so that's everything within the green belt. Sharp decline since 2018. Don't know what to say right now. We're waiting for that market to turn around. It might be a couple more years. And last year it fell a further 1%. So, due to a much softer condominium market that represents 90% of the central area. So that's a significant percentage. So a little tweak there is going to make a big difference. So that's kind of where we're at with the market areas.
Yeah, although obviously Central would be taking up a bigger proportion of kind of the rental, the for-purpose rental building. Although we are seeing much more kind of rental clusters kind of in the town centers, in
Yeah,
Barhaven, Canada, and
that's
New
right.
Orleans as well. So
Yeah, yeah,
interesting times.
definitely. Yeah.
So we've kind of got a good survey of what happened in 2024. And again, a fair increase in activity, still not the robust numbers we'd want to see. But on the other hand, we're also, entering this period of economic uncertainty, of tariffs and other concerns, and a lot of consumer things that could affect consumer confidence overall.
Hmm.
But funnily, I didn't see that reflected in kind of the January sales numbers. I was, somewhat pleasantly surprised, and people can go and see the numbers on GOHBA's website right now. For January sales, we're still up. They were still up like 13%,
Right.
right, year over year. They were up 25% from December 2024 to January 2025. Kind of, that strength was actually a bit shocking to me, right? But again, in a pleasant way. And I think I'm waiting to see now, or my high anticipation is for what the February sales numbers, and if kind of the consumer confidence, at least in this local market, kind of stays as strong, right?
Right.
But that kind of leads into, I think, the broader question of, boy, it feels like there's a lot of headwinds on the market, both on the builder side, and like I said, right on the kind of consumer confidence
Yeah.
side. For everyone's edification, we're taping this on March 5th, so that way you can kind of place yourself on, tariffs technically came in last night. There's
Yeah.
already talk that they could be pulled before we end this
And it's
recording.
changing by the
And it
minute.
could, yeah, and they might have been taken away and put back by the time you're actually watching this video. So it's a bit of all over the place right
Yeah.
now. But that uncertainty alone
Hmm.
creates a lot of chaos in the market for not just housing, but just, for our, everything, food and cars and everything else. But of
Right.
course, for our discussion, housing in particular,
Right.
tariffs impact the construction costs and construction materials that crisscross the border sometimes. And there's a lot of uncertainty. And I'm getting questions sort of already of, what does this translate into increase for price for housing? And it's almost impossible to tell, because you're talking about which portion are you talking about? Are you talking about aluminum that's going into HVACs or
Right.
whatever else, right? And even that's going to be hard to tell, because who knows if the tariff will last more than a day
Yeah.
right now.
Exactly.
So, but what's kind of the feeling you're getting out of sales offices and kind of sentiments from builders overall as we kind of march into the first few months of this year?
So I will just quick comment. January was not reflective of what's going on right now, which is probably why sales looked really good,
Yeah.
right? Because all of the rumors and the news was starting to trickle out, and people really didn't necessarily have a full appreciation. So January not reflective. We think that February will be more reflective. So like you said, let's sit tight and see what the February numbers look like. But
You're managing our expectations, eh,
yes,
Cheryl? Yeah, okay,
yeah,
okay.
exactly.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah, apparently I'm told I do that well. So PMA's view of the Ottawa market for 2025, there's a first half and there's a second half. The first half, you were talking about the uncertainty. Oh, yeah, there's uncertainty, and there will be uncertainty for a while leading up to and beyond. We've got, the federal election to get through yet. Now we've got the Trump tariffs, and that's changing by the minute. Are they going to be short term, long term? Because the impact is going to be vastly different depending. People are going to wonder, do I have a job? Will I have a job? Job now, job later in the year? I have no idea. What about the roof over my head? Am I going to be able to close on my new home? My daily essentials, will I have access to those? So a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty. So Q2 will continue to be impacted by this state of confusion that started in this first quarter that we're in right now. And, unfortunately, it's going to mute the, I'll call it the previously anticipated housing recovery of the first two quarters, because we were on a bit of a roll. And we were hoping to see that kind of sort of snowball into 2025. So that might be muted. And it won't be until the second half of 2025 before some resolution brings back stability. We need to have resolution to some of the things that are outstanding right now. And then the market can turn around quickly. It could turn around quickly, depending on how long this has gone on, and the uncertainty will clear. So, in addition to clearing the geopolitical chaos, construction costs too high. We need to speed up approvals. These need to be accelerated and are as important as the Trump tariffs. These are issues that have existed for a while, and we need to fix those as well. That doesn't go away just because we have Trump tariffs threatening us, right? So, as I said, the second half, that's when this uncertainty will start to dissipate. Businesses and consumers, they'll be adjusting, whatever it is, because that's what Ottawa does. We adjust. Go back to COVID. Oh my goodness, I never saw a market adjust like that ever, in terms of the response that builders had.
Yeah, I remember
Right?
it was like a 2 weeks of shutdown, and then it was like, back up to normal.
Boom, up and running. How are we going to do
Yeah.
this? How are we going to sell? Oh, I need my digital this. I need my DocuSign that.
Yeah.
It was incredible. And this could remind us of COVID, which, it was a recession back then. We're not wishing or hoping or thinking about that, and I don't want to manifest it. I think you may have used that word.
That's always kind of my concern, right? It's kind of like talking about recessions, right? It can kind of become a self-fulfilling prophecy if you warned people that there's a recession, all of a sudden they obviously they start pulling back and retrenching, expecting a recession, and then that causes the recession, right?
Yeah.
But it's funny because what your observations and kind of anticipation about the Ottawa market is reflective of what I'm hearing elsewhere. So I just came back from the International Builders Show.
That's right.
Right, and sent you kind of some of the info from market observers there, and they kind of had a very similar observation of we're expecting kind of this 6 months of bit of chaos and uncertainty and everything else, and then we expect it to kind of throw out. So. Just I guess the proof will be in the pudding as we start seeing sales numbers for February and March kind of come through. Hopefully February, usually around the 20th, those things kind of come out publicly, right? And it'll be interesting to see. But I think it makes me feel much more secure that we feel like this is kind of in a bit of a temporary blip.
Yeah. Yeah, and people know what's going on, right? It's we're not in our own little bubble here. People know what's going on. At the end of the day, people need a place to live. Now, the timing and the product choice and all of that will be dependent on the situation, the current situation. But speaking of situations, if anybody has the financial means to buy, now is the time. Definitely, now is the time to buy. So, outlook for 2025, as I said, first half, second half, it's going to two very different, distinctive periods of time, potentially.
Yep.
But we are forecasting 4,200 sales for 2025.
Which would be, a 500 unit increase over the 3,700, right? Yeah, so that's...
We think we can do it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So replay this later, and we'll see
how
close I came.
I was just about to say, I think we've signed ourselves up now to do another midterm or a mid-year check-in.
I'm in.
As we see kind of the wheel turning back towards the increased activity once again.
Yeah.
Well, thanks very much, Cheryl. It's very much
Thank
appreciated, and I appreciated our partnership with PMA Brethour to produce these stats and get them out to both the industry and the public and generally wide. How can the people get a hold of you?
They can go to pmaottawa.com. We also have a corporate site, pmabrethour.com. But my team and I, for the local market, we're at pmaottawa.com. And on our website is my contact information. You can reach out to me directly. My email is there. My phone number is there. And I would love to speak with anybody who's interested in learning more about the new home market information that we have.
So if you want to watch this happen on a monthly basis, you can go to GOHBA.ca, where we produce the monthly reports with this on the sales statistics with PMA Brethour Ottawa about the 20th of the month. They come out. So looking forward to kind of the next few months, and we'll definitely have to do this again. Thanks very much, Cheryl, for doing this. Always a great discussion, and I look forward to the next one.
Likewise. Thank you.